Tonight on EIV News at 9, a South Boston man receives his sentence for a 2012 murder.
And the first Democratic debate made headlines this week. Emily Grossberg will be here for a full recap.
Good evening and welcome to EIV News at 9. I'm Ellie Romano.
And I'm Sean Stackhouse. We begin with tonight's top stories. A South Boston man has been sentenced to life in prison for first-degree murder. Timothy Koska was found guilty for the 2012 killing of Barbara Coyne. According to evidence, Koska broke into Coyne's home to steal expensive fishing equipment from her son. When Coyne encountered Koska, he beat her and slashed her throat. Afterwards, Koska continued to search the home for valuable items. In a statement from the Coyne family, they said justice has been served and thanked the jury for the ruling. Koska will not be eligible for parole.
A nurse in Hingham was arrested Saturday for stealing pain medication. Cindy Martin was dismissed from her job at Queen's Anne's Nursing Home in June after it was revealed she stole Vicodin, oxycodone, and morphine from her patients. Martin allegedly replaced the drugs with Tylenol, water, and mouthwash. Martin was arraigned Tuesday on charges of illegal possession and larceny of drugs, as well as 3 counts of assault and battery on a person over the age of 60. She's due back in court on November 20th.
A Brookline firefighter appeared in court on Tuesday following his alleged attack on a homeless man Sunday night. Witnesses say that 37-year-old Joseph Ward verbally attacked and physically assaulted Jeffrey Gagnon after he took too long to place an order at Anna's Taqueria in Brookline. Ward is being charged with assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, a bottle he allegedly threw at Gagnon during the altercation. The 10-year veteran of the Brookline Fire Department has been placed on administrative leave and is scheduled to appear in court again in November.
The trial for a Danvers High School student accused of killing his math teacher has been postponed. Philip CHISM is being prosecuted for the 2013 rape and killing of his math teacher, 24-year-old Colleen Ritzer. CHISM's lawyer has expressed concerns regarding his competency to stand trial. According to the court-appointed psychologist, the teen has expressed suicidal thoughts and has been unresponsive in recent meetings, repeatedly banging his head against the walls. The judge has delayed further jury selection until the psychologist has a chance to re-evaluate the teen.
New progress has been made in a 23-year-old cold case murder. James Witkowski stood in court Wednesday accused of the murder of Tufts University student Lena Bruce. Bruce was the only African-American woman to graduate with a degree in engineering in her class, but was found dead in her room by her roommate at 21 years old. Witkowski was already serving time for an unrelated crime when his DNA presented for a test last summer came up as a match for DNA evidence gathered from the now 2-decade-old murder case. Witkowski is expected back in court next month and is being held without bail.
DOLE is recalling bags of spinach after salmonella was found in a random sample test of spinach salad. The recall only applies to DOLE spinach and not to its baby spinach or any of its other salad products. The bags were distributed in 13 states, including Massachusetts. No illnesses have been reported yet. However, the company is asking customers to throw the product away, as salmonella is one of the leading causes of food poisoning. It can also result in fever, diarrhea, vomiting, and stomach cramps.
Parishioners of a closed Catholic church in Scituate, Massachusetts were evicted Wednesday. The group had maintained a nonstop presence at St. Francis Cabrini Church, which was closed in 2004, while appealing the process of the Archdiocese of Boston to reopen the facility. The court ruled against the appeal, calling the group trespassers on the property of the Archdiocese of Boston. The parishioners occupied the building after it was closed in 2004 and had maintained a presence there for 11 years before Wednesday's ruling.
New Englanders could be seeing a spike in energy costs in the near future. The pending closure of the PILGRIM nuclear power station in Plymouth, which supplies power for more than 600,000 homes, will be closing its doors in the summer of 2019. Entergy Corporation, which purchased the nuclear power facility in 1999, says they can no longer afford to keep the large station open. This comes just 1 month after federal regulators downgraded the plant's safety rating and slapped Entergy with upwards of $45 million in fines.
Democratic presidential candidates took the stage on Tuesday for their first debate of the season. Our political correspondent Emily Grossberg is here to give us the details.
Democrats squared off in the party's first presidential debate on Tuesday. While it may not have been as heated as the Republican debates, the stakes were just as high. Over 15 million viewers tuned in to watch CNN on the debate, which was even bigger than Obama versus Clinton debate in 2008. Hillary Clinton called out Senator Bernie Sanders on policy, specifically his stance on gun control, but Sanders had the line of the night saying what all of America is thinking about Clinton's email controversy.
Let me say something that may not be great politics, but I think the Secretary is right. And that is that the American people are sick and tired of hearing about your damn emails.
Thank you. Me too. Me too.
You know?
Other candidates in the debate were Lincoln Chafee, Martin O'Malley, and Jim Webb. However, they all struggled for airtime and placed Clinton and Sanders in the forefront for the Democratic nomination. And on the other side of the aisle, Donald Trump proves yet again to be a formidable opponent in the GOP presidential race. According to a new CNN ORC poll, Trump holds a double-digit lead over neurosurgeon Ben Carson in both South Carolina and Nevada, and those are the third and fourth states, respectively, to vote in the primary. 38% of likely voters in Nevada see Trump as the best candidate to handle a wide range of issues, while 36% of voters feel the same in South Carolina. And at this point, no other candidate even comes close to those numbers, as each third-place candidate is polling less than 10%. And a new Fox poll released this week showed that Donald Trump and Ben Carson are actually virtually tied at 24 to 23% respectively, so it all kind of seems all over the board. And in Massachusetts, Senator Ed Markey has endorsed Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. Markey announced his decision yesterday, but said he decided on a Clinton a while ago. He pointed to Clinton's stance on climate change and opioid addiction as his reasons behind his support. And while Senator Markey is vocal about that support of Clinton, other Bay State leaders are more hesitant. Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren has avoided taking sides so far in the race. However, both Markey and Warren agree and are making their voices heard when it comes to smoking cigarettes. Both senators are backing legislation that would make it illegal to sell tobacco products to people under the age of 21. The Massachusetts leaders are joined by 7 other senators across the country, and they cite new research showing that raising the minimum smoking age could result in 50,000 fewer deaths among young people. According to a survey done by the CDC, nearly 75% of adults supporting raising the legal age to buy tobacco to 21. And that's all the political news I have for tonight. Ellie and Sean, back to you.
Thanks, Ellie. Now, there's been a lot of talk about the debate, but who do you see as the true winner here?
You know, Sean, it really depends on who you ask. I mean, viewers are going to tune in and watch the debate and see Bernie Sanders' power and fever behind his voice and say, yeah, I can really get behind what he's saying. I mean, CNN polls after the debate showed that Bernie was polling around 80% as the winner. But there's new controversy around that as CNN actually took that poll down, and it is known that CNN is owned by Time Warner, who does back Hillary Clinton as a candidate. So really, though, journalists and political leaders and professional politicians will see Clinton as the winner because she really made a comeback, but it's really up to the viewer to decide.
Thanks for the update, Emily. Coming up after the break, we'll have details on a car shooting on Interstate 495 yesterday.
And the Dutch Safety Board has made a ruling on flight MH17. Camilla Zargarzazu will have more.
Welcome back to EIV News at 9. A car shooting on Route 495 Tuesday night has police searching for a suspect. The victim of the shooting reported the incident to police after pulling off to the shoulder by Wrentham, Massachusetts. The driver was traveling southbound when a shot shattered the driver's side window of the vehicle, destroying the window but leaving the driver unharmed. According to authorities, the shooting was not random and the investigation is ongoing.
Laconia, New Hampshire will be the site of a landmark women's rights case. 54-year-old Heidi Lilly was given a $25 ticket for sunbathing shirtless last month and has decided to take the fight to court. While she was not entirely in the nude, it was against the Guilford Beach Ordinance for women to sunbathe topless on public beaches. The Laconia native, who also is a local leader of the Free the Nipple movement, has decided to take the case to court, citing the ordinance as unconstitutional and discriminatory towards women. An attorney has said that she pled not guilty and will attempt to dismiss the case on equal protection grounds.
Michael Maskaritolo and Lauren Khalil pleaded not guilty to murder and accessory charges on Tuesday. Authorities arrested the Marshfield couple last week for their roles in the murder of Robert McKenna. Earlier last month, McKenna was found dead in his home and several of his guns were stolen. Maskaritolo was charged with murder and burglary, and his girlfriend Khalil was charged with accessory after the fact. Police are still looking for another suspect in connection with the case.
Tragic news out of Wellesley this past Friday as a young teenager died at her field hockey practice. Noble and Greeno High School student Casey Dunn collapsed on the field during her practice after telling her friends she did not feel well. Later, she was pronounced dead as a result of a brain hemorrhage at Boston Children's Hospital. The school was closed Monday, and grief counselors are being offered to students, being offered to all students. Casey's parents, although in mourning, find comfort knowing their daughter, the third of 5 children, passed away doing something that she loved.
Profile Rock, a popular destination for hikers in Freetown, Massachusetts, was spray painted with a swastika and tagged with a name. 3 suspects were arrested Sunday afternoon, according to the Freetown Police Department. A witness described the incident to an officer who was patrolling the area, and Nicholas Berry, Michael Del Toro, and Kenneth McNulty III were pulled over shortly after based on the descriptions given by the witness.
A Worcester woman is facing charges relating to the injuries of her 5-year-old son. According to police, the boy showed up to elementary school Tuesday morning with a limp and noticeable bruising. He's the son of Chantel Wen, who has been charged with reckless endangerment and permitting injury to a child. The boy was taken to the hospital after employees of the school noticed his injuries and is now under the care of Massachusetts Department of Children and Families.
There has been major news this week in a ruling by the Dutch Safety Board over the flight that was believed to be shot down. Camilla Zagarzazu joins us now with the details.
Flight AMH17 was traveling from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur last year when it disappeared from radar while flying over Ukraine. A total of 283 passengers and 15 crew members were on board. After a 15-month investigation by the Dutch Safety Board, it has been confirmed that the plane fell after being hit by a Russian-made missile. The plane crashed in eastern Ukraine at the height of the conflict between government troops and the pro-Russian separatists. A separate criminal investigation is underway, and the chief prosecutor says a number of persons of interest have been identified, but the investigation will not be finished until next year. Israel's military deployed hundreds of soldiers to assist police in attempting to control the recent attacks on Israelis and Palestinians. The measures announced include allowing police to seal off points of friction and tension from the public. Another measure includes hiring an extra 300 security guards for public transportation in Jerusalem. These added security measures come after last week's bloody attacks that killed 3 and left a number of others wounded. Military troops from 6 units will reinforce the police in cities and on roads. Ankar's police, intelligence, and security chiefs have been suspended in the wake of bombings that left 97 people dead in Turkey's capital. The attack, the worst in Turkey's modern history, caused widespread anger against the government. The Interior Ministry said the suspensions would enable a robust investigation into the attack. Turkey's president visited the site this week from the bombing, and Turkish officials say 2 suicide bombers carried out the attack, targeting crowds that were gathered for a rally against violence. U.S. drug agents intercepted cell phone signals suggesting fugitive drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman was hiding at a ranch in the Mexican mountains. When Mexican Marines raided the ranch last week, however, all they found were cell phones and clothing they believed may belong to the crime boss. U.S. authorities say El Chapo's cartel is the biggest supplier of illicit drugs to the U.S., and they're doing everything in their power to help Mexican officials catch the drug lord. A week after the raid, however, hope that El Chapo was surrounded has faded, and the trail is feared to have gone cold. That's all I have for you tonight. Back to Ellie and Sean at the desk.
Camilla, after the Dutch safety ruling on flight MH17, what is the expected role for the U.S. to take?
The U.S. is supporting a UN Security Council that is trying to pass legislation to look into a tribunal into the disaster.
Thanks, Camilla. We're going to take a quick break. Stay with us.
Welcome back to EIV News at 9. A KPMG report announced recently about major profit increase among startups. Business correspondent Jack Schwartz is with us now for the story.
While startups brought in a total of $88.7 billion last year, they've already seen an increase of 11%, bringing in $98.4 billion so far in 2015, according to a new report from CB Insights and KPMG. The number of deals being reached is in decline, but the deals that have been made have been worth much more. The 12 largest rounds of funding to companies like Uber, GitHub, and Vox totaled more than 28% of funding in North America in the third quarter of this fiscal year. China has also been getting in on the action. Funding to China-based firms is up 315% from the third quarter last year, but only 1 extra deal has been made so far. At a Tokyo museum on Wednesday this week, Toyota Motor Company announced their ambitious plans for the future of automobile manufacturing. The auto giant is promising to push governments, affiliated companies, and stakeholders to reduce the amount of carbon emissions from Toyota vehicles 90% by the year 2050 as compared to 2010. Toyota projected their sales of fuel cell vehicles will reach 30,000 by the year 2020, and annual sales of hybrid vehicles will reach 1.5 million by the same year, bringing total sales to 15 million hybrid vehicles, almost twice what they have sold worldwide so far. And the makers of Budweiser and Miller Beer reached a merger deal this past week. Budweiser will pay Miller $67.62 a share.
This morning, SAB Miller
$9 billion. Combined, the two companies 57.8% of the global profit pool and will be valued at $275 billion. This could spell out trouble for smaller breweries. However, Breweries Association Director Paul Gatza isn't feeling worried. People take beer very seriously. People may see this as a time to rally around their local brewery, Gatza said in a statement to Business Insider. And finally, a jury in Madison, Wisconsin recently found tech giant Apple guilty of infringing on patents held by the University of Wisconsin and could be liable for up to $862.4 million. The patents in question pertain to the technology Apple implements in their A7, A8, and A8X chips found in the iPhone 5S, 6, 6 Plus, and multiple iPads. After the university filed the suit in January of 2014, Apple argued their patents were invalid, but the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office denied their request for review.
Now, Jack, there's been a major announcement from Toyota, so can we expect to see a major shift in the automobile market?
Well, Sean, the other major makers of automobiles haven't provided any response in Toyota's changes. However, Toyota is the world's largest automaker 3 years straight. And right now, it seems that although their plan is to build on fuel cell cars run on hydrogen, and the resources needed for hydrogen fuel aren't actually naturally occurring and produce carbon emissions when making them. So although the car's only emission is water, we're going to need to see an increase in wind to fuel and solar panel energy systems in order for this to be an effective transition for Toyota.
All right, thanks for the update, Jack. The Pawtucket Red Sox could be getting a new home. The team ended its pursuit of waterfront land for a new stadium in Providence and have opened talks with the town of Springfield, Massachusetts. The discussions are being held with the mayor, Dominic Sarno, the Paw Sox co-owner, Larry Lucchino, and the chief operating officer of the Boston Red Sox, Sam Kennedy. The mayor said that he could envision building a stadium in the city's north end for the AAA franchise, adding that any deal would make sense both logistically and financially for the city.
Police officers in Concord, Massachusetts are redefining what it means to get a ticket. In a new initiative to promote safe driving habits, officers are now distributing good behavior citations, redeemable at the Reasons to Be Cheerful Dessert Cafe for up to 2 scoops of ice cream. These tickets can be earned by wearing a bicycle helmet, looking both ways before crossing the street, yielding to pedestrians at a crosswalk, and much more. Police Chief Joseph O'Connor has expressed his thanks to the cafe and has high hopes the initiative will work.
Asian elephants roamed the streets of Boston Wednesday morning. The spectacle was part of a promotion for the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus, which runs through Sunday at the TD Garden. In true Boston fashion, the elephants tried out street performances by playing the harmonica and showing off their football skills. This may be one of the last time Boston gets such large guests, as the Ringling Brothers announced earlier this year that they will be phasing out the elephant performances in the next 3 years, amid growing concerns about the well-being of animals.
The Massachusetts Department of Fish and Game has announced a new hunting season for black bears. This new season will run from November 30th to December 12th, the same time as shotgun deer season. Hunters can only be active during this 2-week period and are restricted to 1 shotgun no larger than 10 gauge. Another option for hunters is to use 2 muzzle-loading guns fired from the shoulder or a bow and arrow. To participate, hunters must apply for a $5 permit with a limit of 1 bear per year. In other news, the Boston Bruins are expected to be out of the state for the first few weeks of December.
3 teams have punched their tickets to the League Championship Series. Katie Zeff is here to tell us who is moving on and who is heading home. Katie, what can we see out of the MLB?
Thanks, guys. The championship series have finally arrived in Major League Baseball, and it was worth the wait. To start off, the Chicago Cubs are headed to the NLCS for the first time since 2003, after beating the Cardinals 6-4. They are favored to win the World Series for the first time in history. They will face the winner of the Mets-Dodgers Game 5, which is happening as we speak. Moving on to another shocker for the American League, the Blue Jays will advance to the ALCS. The game was filled with tension, particularly after a controversial call that gave Jays catcher Russell Martin an error and resulted in a Rangers score. The Blue Jays came back fighting to win 6-3. They will be taking on the Royals in the ALCS. The New England Patriots are out for revenge this Sunday night when they take on the Indianapolis Colts. It is the first time the teams have faced each other since the AFC Championship that led to Deflategate. It is no secret that the Patriots are after vengeance for the overblown controversy. The team is 4-0 this season. Brady has been flawless with 11 touchdowns and no interceptions. The Colts, who have not had a stellar season, better prepare for a fight. The Cowboys have decided to bench quarterback Brandon Weeden in favor of Matt Castle. The switch comes after the Cowboys' third loss this season without Tony Romo. While Weeden did a fair job protecting the football, he struggled to create the big plays the Cowboys needed. Castle was acquired in a trade with the Bills after Romo's injury in Week 2. He has spent most of the season as the inactive third quarterback. He recently stated that he is comfortable with the playbook and confident in his ability. Former NBA star Lamar Odom was hospitalized Tuesday after he was discovered unconscious in a Nevada brothel. Odom was stabilized and taken to a nearby hospital. He reportedly had multiple drugs and alcohol in his system. His current condition remains unclear, although sources say that he is fighting for his life. His ex-wife, reality star Khloe Kardashian, flew to the hospital Tuesday night. She will be making all medical decisions for him. That's it for sports. Back to Ellie and Sean at the desk.
Now back to the MLB, Katie. The Dodgers are taking on the Mets right now in LA. Who are you taking?
Well, it's going to be a really close game, both great teams, but I'm going to have to go with the Dodgers. They're starting Greinke. He's been awesome this entire season. He hasn't allowed more than 2 runs at home since April. While the Mets have been doing pretty well, I'm going to have to say the Dodgers have home field advantage on this one. Umps also tend to call for the home team, so I'm really going to have to go with the Dodgers. They're currently leading 2-1.
Tough to bet against the home team.
Thanks, Katie. We'll see how that prediction holds up. We're going to take one more quick commercial break, but stay with us for a full weather update.
Welcome back to EIV News at 9.
Now, Sean, I don't know about you, but I have been loving this fall weather. Carly, how long is it going to stay around for?
Well, Ellie, as you know, today was an absolutely gorgeous day without a cloud in the sky, and lucky for us, that'll be a trend for this week. We had a high of 60 today, and tonight we'll be heading down to 50 degrees. It was a little bit on the humid side, but hopefully that should be decreasing throughout the week as well. Tomorrow is looking pleasant for the start of Parents' Weekend. It is going to be a little chilly in the morning with the day starting around 43 degrees, but by noon we should be seeing highs in the mid-60s and only a 10% chance of rain in the afternoon. That night we'll be heading down to a nice crisp 44 degrees, so make sure to grab those jackets before heading out. This weekend will be slightly chillier, but we won't be seeing too much rain with the exception of a 30% chance of showers on Saturday morning. Those showers should be past us by around 11 a.m., so they won't interrupt any Parents' Weekend outings. Other than that, the sky should be clear with a high of 56 degrees on Saturday and 50 degrees on Sunday. We are, however, expecting it to get pretty cold once the sun goes down, so I'd recommend breaking out your jackets this weekend. Saturday and Sunday, we'll be seeing lows heading down into the 30s. And as for the 5-day, we're predicting nothing but sunshine on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. The temperature will also be climbing for most of the week. The high on Monday will be around 48 degrees, so I definitely recommend you break out those jackets. The high for that day will be most likely only hit 50 degrees, but the good news is we shouldn't be seeing too much wind. Tuesday, we have highs in the high 50s and nothing but sunshine, and then lucky for us by Wednesday, we'll be seeing highs in the mid-60s. Thursday, we will be seeing some clouds in the sky, but the same mild temperatures in the mid-60s. And we'll finish up the week on Friday with even more sunshine. So that's all for weather this week. I'm Carly. Let's send it back to the desk.
All right, thanks, Carly. Now, Ellie, Tuesday was such an important night as it was the first Democratic debate. And there were a lot of talk about whether Bernie Sanders did enough for his campaign or whether Hillary Clinton just took the thing home as she stood her ground. Who do you think who had the most important stance there?
I definitely think Bernie owned the night, especially since that one clip that we showed tonight has been circulating the internet nonstop about the emails that we're done hearing about them. He really, really made a great comment.
Yeah, he did a great idea of really just trying to reach out to that younger audience, and that's who his following is now. As for some of the other candidates, there's Chafee, Webb, and O'Malley. Who out of the three of those do you think stuck out the most?
I think it's really just between Bernie and Hillary.
At this point, well, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Have a good night.